Hi, we are back. If you cannot notice, I am in a different setting. I'm at home right now, and if you're like, oh, it's a mess back, it's first off, my room's always been messy. It's just, in my dorm, it's much easier to hide it. Two, I'm in the process of packing up everything I own into 2 boxes to go to my dad's to live for the summer, and to book me to an apartment. So, everything's chaotic. So keep in mind. Also, I've noticed the sun is giving me a really weird tint. Like, this is not this pink, it's more red. And this one lens is like yellow. So keep in mind. But alas, this video is not about the background nor the weird hinge. It is about what I read in April 2022. Now, can I just give myself a round of applause for the fact that I read 20 books? No, 12 books during exams. And as far as I know, I didn't fail anything, so I'm fine with this. So the first book I read literally on the first day of April. So like, again, I never know what to count these because I read majority of it in March. I forgot what month it was. I read majority of it in March, but whatever. It was The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I really liked it. Honestly, it's been so long I kind of forget majority of it, but I did like it. I gave it 4 stars. It goes along with the Ember and the Ashes story series from Blood and Ash, not Ember and the Ashes. They all have ashes and blood. Same thing. No, they're very, very different series. From Blood and Ash series. It is the 4th one, as far as I'm aware. It is adventurous, dark, tense. It's medium-paced fantasy. If you haven't watched my other video, it's like vampires, gods, beings above gods and humans, war, magic, that type of stuff. Really fun fantasy. It is longer, it's 645 pages, but that's still fun. The next book I read, House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas, a second Crescent City book. I have mixed feelings about this. If you've read the book, you probably know my most mixed feeling. I remember sitting in my bed at night. It was like midnight. I was just reading, just finishing. I was on my Kobo. I was like, yeah, I'll finish it, then go to bed. I nearly screamed. I physically sat up. I normally lie down to read. I physically sat up, almost threw my Kobo. I didn't because I would have been a mess. But I almost threw my Kobo. And then, yeah, I reread the page 4 times before it entered my brain of what happened. It was very, So if you know what happens, you know it's very conflicting. Cool, but do we really need this? It's 5 stars. I did enjoy it overall. It was good brain candy, how do I put this? There were aspects of the story I didn't like, but overall the story I did enjoy, and I enjoyed reading it while I was reading it. I liked the characters for the most part. I enjoyed the fantasy of always. It's mystery still and adventure still. There's lots of filler in this book, which parts of it I liked, parts of it I didn't like. And there was lots of plot twists. So what I mean by this is, in the first book, when Bryce goes and does something, normally the reader knows about it for the most part. But then in this book, there's a lot of stuff that we never even would have known. There was no hinting at it, and it was just kind of boom, it happens, which is very different. Most of Bryce's stuff is off page. You don't know what's happening. And yeah, and the plot twists, there's lots of plot twists in general. Some of them I could see coming. I was like, oh, I know that's gonna happen. And others, no way. The filler is Rune's friend. I don't know if I say his name, but Rune and his friends got a lot more pages this time. And so did Therian, which I don't mind. They're cool characters. But also Bryce and Hunt became very unlikable to me. Maybe that's just me. I found they were a lot more enjoyable in the first book. So it's me being picky, but yeah. Bryce and Hunt kind of aren't my favorite characters. I liked them more in the first book than the second book. So yeah, there's that. And it was 862 pages, so it is a little longer than most books. So yeah. And the next book Oh, this I remember this book. Okay. The next book I read was The Gilded Wolves. I apologize. I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, I guarantee you. Roshini Chokshi? Gilded Wolves. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's more medium paced. It was, how do I put this? Like, it was good. It's, I actually put down this note. It's fantasy but real world. So like pretty much it talks about mostly Europe, and I think it also talks about, oh, what else does it talk about? It was the very beginning of the month. I think specifically India. It talks about like in like Philippines. I remember they mentioned Philippines, like specific areas in the real world. But then also has like the introduction of magic, and like it's like an alternate universe sort of like, yeah. And it's, I want to say it's olden days ish. It's kind of hard to pinpoint it. It's kind of heisty. Like I don't want to say like as high stakes. Not as it's not as like Six of Crows heisty, but it's still a heist, which I did enjoy. I do love myself a good heist. There was also lots of filler I found in this book, which I don't know. I'm not a fan of filler, like unless if it's really good. I'm sorry, the sun is moving as I'm trying to speak, so I'm just gonna move this. That's a bit better. I was like squinting. Sorry about that. Like I don't mind filler for the most part. It's just some of it wasn't good. I found this book kind of hard to get through at points, but it was, you know, it was a newer, not newer book. It was a different book for my taste, I would say, because it was also one of the books where it constantly flipped perspectives, which it's a me thing. I have to be in the right mindset to focus that hard, especially if they're new characters, and there were a lot of characters in this book. I hope I remember. I swear they kept flipping perspectives, but yeah, there's a lot of characters in the book, so yeah. It was 388 pages, and by when I say nitpicky things, I'm not saying it's a bad book. All the books I finished are good. I say this as there's one I destroyed when I read. Okay. I apologize in advance because a lot of people love this book. Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller? I don't know what's her name. I apologize. I passed a second. 1.5 stars. So I'm just gonna give this straight up. I was marketed this book on TikTok or BookTok as enemies to lovers, pirates, and like interesting. I'm gonna say this real quick. It's like it reads like fan fiction, like in the nicest way possible. Like, yeah, it's medium paced fantasy adventure pirates, like in the nicest way possible. It reads like fan fiction, and I say this because the main character is horrible. She's a horrible character. She's not very likable. She's constantly like, I'm the best because I'm a girl, which is fine. You can be like that. I'm sometimes like that, but it's like constantly, it's all her thoughts are saying is, I'm the best because blah blah blah. And then her love interest is like, there was really never an enemies to lover situation. So I guess it was marketed like these people said it wrong, but it definitely was not enemies to lovers, and they were barely love. Like I was like, where's the romance? There is no romance. And the writing was very quick, and there was really like, why is she doing this? It's kind of like more because she can and she wants to be like, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's just not for me. I am gonna read the second one because it's only duology, and I want to finish it. And I want to be like, I'm done. I read it. Goodbye. I am really sad because I really wanted to like it, and I heard it was good, but it just like wasn't my cup of tea. Sadly, actually quite sad because I love myself a pirate book. I love pirates. Pirates are cool. But no, it just wasn't. And I think also things that she was trying to be like, some of the writing was just bad because she has a secret, but it was so obvious like the first chapter in what her secret was, and it was like, oh okay, like not that big of a deal. And she didn't seem that, like, keen on keeping it a secret either. Like, she was like, oh my god. I'm like, well, stop saying what it is then, you know? So, yeah. It was 320 pages, so it is a shorter book. That's why I'm not super angry about it. But yeah. Oh, and then I read a really good book. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. 4 stars. I loved this book. It was very different than anything I've ever read before. So I would say it's dark, emotional, and it was sad. I didn't cry, but it was sad. Medium paced for sure, and it's more fantasy historical. And this book was such a cool concept. So essentially it follows this girl, and she never dies, and she keeps living, essentially. And then one day, she meets somebody. Well, she lives, but no one can ever see her. No one ever, how do I put this? No one can ever see, people see her, but they don't remember. Like, the minute they look away from her, they forget who she is, which makes living difficult, obviously. So she gets through living, and then one day, someone sees her and remembers her. And that's kind of the whole story, and there's, like, other stuff, obviously. It was so good. I, like, ate this book up. It was really good. I highly recommend. I'm really excited to read more of the Schwab stuff. I'm just scared because I know they have, I'm saying they because I don't actually know their pronouns. I'm sorry. I think they're all series, and series are terrifying. I'm sorry. I keep walking into light. Series are terrifying because you never know how long they are, and then you get sucked into a series, which could be good, could be bad. But anyways, yeah. It's 444 pages, so I was like, it wasn't too long. And again, it was like medium pace, so you probably get through it quickly as well if you liked it. Next book, It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Okay, I have mixed feelings about this book. I have mixed feelings about this author. She's all over BookTok right now. I'm 90% sure it's a she. That's why I'm saying she. Sorry. Yeah. It's just low. It's abuse. And it was kind of disgusting to read at times. It was very abusive, and it wasn't. It was a contemporary romance, and it turned into abuse. And it wasn't fun to read. Like, I was like disgusted at parts. I'm like, why am I reading this? I'm sorry. The sun is setting, and it is like changing everything every which way. So that's what we're dealing with today. But yeah, it was that. It was fast paced. I will say I did eat it up. I did give it 3 stars because the writing was good. She has a way with words. I will say she knows how to get you in and keep you reading. But it just wasn't it made me feel gross, essentially. I do want to read more of her books because I know they're everywhere right now, and I know maybe some other ones are better. Maybe not all of her books are like that, hopefully. I also put it was like tense, obviously, because of that, the context. It's 384 pages, so it wasn't long. So like, again, I had to read it in I think a day or two, so there's that. Next book. I have read this book before, so like, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. 4 stars. Unpopular opinion. This series could have stayed with one book. Honestly, I remember this is one of the book series where I read the first book and didn't read the second book for months. So, the first time I read it. So I was like, oh, this is fine, this is a good book. Because I honestly didn't realize there's another series. Another book in the series. Like, oh yeah, whatever, it's fine. Then I find out there's another book in the series, and I'm like, oh, and everything changes. But that's what I'm talking about the first book. I like it. It's not cute. It's adventurous. It's dark and fantasy. I read this like literally forever ago. It's medium paced. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. It's fae. What else? It's fae, magical. I guess it was like war-ish. Yeah, war. It's battles. Yeah, it's really good. I really recommend it. I guess I need to explain more about it though. But essentially, this girl goes in the woods, shoots someone, does something, has to be taken in by the Fae. Then it's a Beauty and Beast kind of retelling-ish, very light-ish, like not very much. I have heard it, I'm like, not overly, but somewhat, I suppose. So yeah, there's that. 416 pages, so again, not too long. Pretty quick book to read. Among the Beasts and Briars. This was a disappointment. I am sorry. Among the Beasts and Briars by Ashley Poston? I wrote down the name wrong, I'm so sorry. Poston, Among the Beasts and Briars. 3.5 stars. This also is half my fault. I didn't like it, because I thought it was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it clearly was not. It was, how do I explain this? It was fantasy. It's like in a kingdom where all the magic and how the kingdom survives is in the crown, and it gets passed to the next heir, and the heir just like takes care of the kingdom through their magic. And then the evil woods people want the crown, essentially. And then all this stuff happens. And then the main character is a gardener's daughter, so who magically has powers, even though they should not have powers. Only the royals should have powers. So yeah. And there's these things called the ancients that are like impossible to kill apparently. And if you get infected by them and be like turn into one, yeah, it's complicated, but yeah, it was interesting. It just wasn't the best in my opinion. This book I read recently, Ninth House by Leah Bardugo. I have been waiting this book for ages. I didn't want to read it until the next one's coming out, and I saw the release for the cover, so I'm like, oh, it's coming out soon. It's not coming out until January 2023, so I'm very sad. But it is so good. So I gave it 5 stars because Leah Bardugo is an amazing writer. I will say, just first shout out about the John Bone trilogy, I have issues with, but her writing is beautiful, so, you know. It's dark, mysterious, intense. It's fantasy, but it takes place in the real world. And I put fantasy with a question mark because I'm like, I don't really know. And it's also fast-paced. So essentially, it takes place in Yale, which I had to look up. It's Yale University is in Chicago, for those of you who don't know, which is probably like no one, because I'm just not smart with the American universities. And it's like, there's these different, what do they call them? Houses? I think, yeah, duh, 9th house. There's different houses that specialize in different like magical like rituals. And the one house, which the main character is a part of, pretty much polices everything, make sure nothing goes wrong, make sure no ghosts kind of like interact. And someone goes missing, and it's like a mystery to find out what happened. There's a murder, and like why is things happening? There's something that's not adding up, and it's very interesting. It's very cool. I really enjoyed it. I also, one thing I really enjoyed about this book was there's 3 different point of views you were reading. I think it was 3. You're reading from last fall, main character perspective. You're reading last fall, another character's perspective. I'm not gonna say who. You're reading last winter, main character. You're reading, I think it was 2 falls, I could be wrong. Then you're reading this spring main character, then this summer main character. So it's like a bunch of like jump back. It's kind of hard to read at first, but then you get into it and it's fun and dandy. So yeah. It's 459 pages. Honestly, it didn't feel like that long to me. I loved that book. It is kind of creepy though, and I will say, so read with warning. It is definitely more new adult, I will say also. Most books I read are more YA, or can be read, I would say, as YA. Not this one. This one's most definitely new adult, and I am sticking to that one. So yeah, forewarning. Next book I read was so cute. It was People Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This book was so cute. Like, I might like contemporary romance. Or like rom-com. I guess it's more like rom-com, I think. I don't actually know romance genres. I'm sorry. Gave it 4 stars. It was emotional, hopeful, and lighthearted. Contemporary romance, like I said, on my wrist. Medium pace and 364 pages. So that's the basic stuff. Pretty much it's about these two friends who, one's a boy, one's a girl, and they meet in university and they start going on a trip once a year every year. And then something happens and they miss a couple years and they start over again and they go again on this trip. And yeah, and it kind of tells them about like each of their trips they went on and then the current trip. And it's really cute and it's a little like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? But also it's like, oh, this is cute, I enjoyed it. And like, it was a happy read. Like, you couldn't feel bad reading it. So yeah. The next book. I don't know if I'm gonna finish this series. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I gave it 4 stars because it's a really well written book. It's a thriller. I didn't know it was a thriller before I read it, and I'm a scaredy cat. I hate thriller, I hate horror, I hate all those genres. It was a good book, like very good. Think like Nancy Drew, but more graphic, more scary. It's 4 stars, dark, mysterious, intense, and it's a fast-paced book. I forgot to write down how many pages it was. I think it was about 350, 360-ish, so not that long. Pretty much, and the rundown of this story was, how do I put this? There was a murder in a town 5 years ago, and this character, she wants to go and prove that the person everyone thinks did it didn't do it for her senior project, and she goes and like asks the brother, younger brother of the person who they think did it, because the person who they think did it has died. And yeah, it kind of goes through all this stuff and they unravel a bunch of secrets, and yeah, it's very good, very on your toes, but it's kind of creepy. So read with caution, I would say. It is a good book though. Last book I read, I was disappointed in. It was Tithe, as I say, by Holly Black. It is the first series in a first book of the modern fairy tale series, if I'm correct. Gave it 3 stars. It's adventurous and fantasy. It's like fae and stuff. I love Holly Black's writing. I think all her books I've read so far, I love. Like, I could reread her books all the time. She's pretty much an instant buy for me. Like instant read, and I was just like, you could tell this book was one of her first books. Like, I don't know if it is, but like, you can tell, like, something about it just, I don't know, and you can kind of tell that the same themes go throughout like the rest of her. Like, if you read this book, or if you read the Cruel Prince series, or the Folk of the Air series, and then you go and read this book, you can definitely see the difference, there's the similarities in the worlds, and I'm almost positive they actually might be taking place in the same world. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the same world even, which is cool. I just found the writing wasn't as good as her newer stuff, which is to be expected. If someone's newer book is probably better than their first ever book. So yeah, there's that. It was good though, and it was 336 pages. And yeah, that's it for my April 2022, sorry, reading wrap up. So yeah, I read a lot. Like a lot. I don't know if I'm gonna read that much this month. I'm starting a new job. I'm halfway down one book and I started another one. So, because I'm reading one in Kobo, one in physical copy. So we're gonna see how this goes. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for not judging me for the state of my background. I'm sorry, I'm also using phone camera still. Yeah, tell me what you're reading. Tell me how your reading goals are going. I'm ahead books. Like, I think I'm ahead 3 books at the moment, so we like. And yeah, I'll see you all later. Bye.